Hello and welcome. Our top focus is the anger over Agnipath scheme and the protests that are spreading across states. The latest that we are getting for you is that the protests have intensified in Bihar. Another train has been set on fire in Nalanda. For more on this, I'm joined by Aditya on the broadcast. Aditya, what we are seeing is since the last 3 days is that anger has only intensified, and one location after the other, there is a clear pattern that protesters are setting trains on fire. What is the latest that you can tell us? Where is the Bihar government at the moment?
Well, exactly. As far as Bihar is concerned, the protest that actually started in the name of aspirants and who were actually demanding recruitment into the armed forces has actually turned political. And as we say this, we have clear visuals of 3 trains being set on fire, one in Danapur, one in Nalanda, and also in Ara. And that being said, if at all we consider the entire thing in totality, we would understand that this is something that has got political backing. We had a leader of the Congress party delegation in the state legislature, Ajit Sharma, openly supporting the protests, come what may. And that being said, we can clearly see that the protests are actually intensifying with day in and day out.
All right, thank you, Aditya, for this update. We also believe that the students' unions have called for a Bihar Bandh tomorrow in the wake of this Agnipath scheme. Remember, anger is spilling onto the streets with the protests taking an ugly turn. There's violence being reported from several parts of the country. The protesters setting the trains on fire, toll plazas on fire in order to register their protest. They are extremely angry against this new scheme. However, the government has assured that they will not be at the losing end, but this seems not to cut it with the protesters. Amid protest over the Agnipath scheme, people travelling by train in large parts have been hit by several issues, including delays, cancellations and lack of timely information. Remember, earlier in the day, Railway Minister had appealed to protesters, urged the protesters to maintain calm. Ashwini Vaishnav said that Railways is their property as well. It belongs to the nation and that railways should not be damaged. Trains should not be set on fire. And as a result of these protests, several people have been inconvenienced. Over 200 trains have been interrupted or delayed. Around 40 to 50 have been cancelled. And the railways have also assured an advisory saying that those people who are planning to leave their homes and are going to board trains in their respective states must check with the railways first because they do not want to be in a situation where it gets extremely difficult for them. So the railways have said that in order to board the train, before boarding the train, if you're planning your travel, please check with the railways about the status of the respective station. Even as the government tries to firefight the concerns over the Agnipath military recruitment scheme by extending the upper age limit from 21 to 23 years for the year, there's no end to the raging protests yet. Agitations have been seen in UP, Bihar, Rajasthan, Telangana and West Bengal. Protesters are demanding a blanket withdrawal of the scheme. Trains were set ablaze in Bihar and UP. Railway services heavily impacted as 13 trains have been cancelled. One death has been reported from Hyderabad, whereas an army aspirant who had spent 2 years waiting for an opportunity to be recruited in the armed forces died by suicide in Haryana. Meanwhile, Army has begun the process for recruitment and the notifications will be out in the next 2 days.
The government's decision to grant this 2 years waiver for the first or the one-time waiver for the recruitment cycle 2022, I think will provide a good opportunity for the young, energetic and motivated youth who have been waiting to get recruited and for some reason in the last 2 years could not partake in the recruitment process. So I think this is a good opportunity for them. As far as the schedule of the recruitment is concerned, I think in a very short time we shall be announcing it. And I would like to appeal to the youth to come forward and be part of the recruitment process as and when we announce it. Like I mentioned, this recruitment process will commence very shortly. In the next 2 days, this notification will be posted on joinindianarmy.nic.in website. And thereafter, in the next stage, our various recruitment offices will promulgate the dates for registration and conduct of rallies, including their locations or places pan-India.
All right, for more on this, I'm joined by my colleague Shamit on the broadcast. Shamit, Telangana has seen a tense situation ever since these protests broke out. One person has also lost their life in these protests. What is the latest that you can share with us? All right, what we'll do is we'll try and establish that link with Shamit in a while because a lot of developments are unfolding as we speak. So the situation is very dynamic. But the latest that we are getting for you is that one person has died. Let's listen into what Shamit is trying to say.
Clearly see there the protesters are running there and the police are actually following them. So right now we can say that this entire premises has been taken into the control, and this is the situation now here we can say.
All right, Shamit, in this, the situation is dynamic, it's volatile. What is the role of the government here? What kind of arrangements have been made in order to stop these protests from getting worse? All right, as I said, that things are quite volatile, and this is the live development. So technology is certainly not on our side, but the latest is that the situation is extremely tense. These are the live visuals that we are getting for you from Secunderabad, where you can see forces taking away protesters who are indulging in violence. These are the visuals that we are getting for you. Remember, one person has lost their life in Telangana after these protests broke out. Situation is extremely tense. Protests have broken out in several parts of the country. What these protesters are essentially demanding is a complete withdrawal or rollback of Agnipath scheme, because they are saying that we are staring at a dark future. What will we do after 4 years? However, the government has clarified that 25% people will be retained for full term and they will be given benefits. All right, Shamit is back with us. Shamit, what is the latest? What is the latest situation on ground?
Well, we can see here hundreds of policemen finally gathered along with the RPF, RAF, and also, local units have reached the railway station, and, they have now, we can clearly see there at the platform number 10, they have set up the vehicles and trying to take the protesters into custody. If you have been already taken into the custody, they have been, shifted from the spot. However, we can say that finally, this this railway station has been evacuated. Hundreds of policemen we can clearly see here. So now we can say that now the premises of this railway station has came into the control, and after hundreds of policemen arrived here. So we can say that more than three coaches have been gutted in fire, and over 10 trains have been vandalized. And since morning we can see the havoc-like situation here. And finally we can say that now the policemen have came into the action and taken few of the protesters into the custody, and few protesters ran away from the opposite side. When few policemen have been ran behind them, following them to take them into the custody. However, we can clearly see here hundreds of policemen have gathered here after many hours, we can say, since the hours begin morning at around 9:30 a.m. And after that, they have torched the 3 coaches, and also 10 trains have been vandalized. And police have also tried to take the situation into control morning, but nothing was helpful, because the protesters were pelting stones, and they have used the diesel to toss the vehicles, and also we can say that they have pelted stones. And finally, with the helplessness situation, they have opened the fire on the protesters, and 13 to 14 have been injured. 4 have been injured with the with the pellet bullet injuries, we can say, and the others with the rubber bullet injuries. 13 have been shifted to the local Gandhi hospital, and one succumbed to the injuries. However, we can say huge forces have gathered here. Few have been taken into custody. Few ran away from this station. The protesters morning, it were hundreds of protesters were seen here. But however, now the situation is somewhat under control. So even higher officials were trying to speak to the the protesters. Negotiations were done. After everything failed, the police have come into the action, and they have taken the protesters into the custody and trying to take others who have ran away also into the custody. So this is the situation now. They are also, trying to take entire premises, we can say, the entire premises of the railway station into control.
Right. Shamit, we also believe that the railways is trying to divert trains so that they don't go through Sikandrabad, because it is a very sensitive area, and the visuals bear testimony to the kind of tension that prevails in the area. We can see the forces on ground, the boots on the ground. But what are the arrangements that the government has made in Telangana so that these protests, so that the violence does not spread like a wildfire? One person has already died.
As of now, we can only say this much because A.K. Gupta, who is the divisional railway manager, has speaking to us, has clearly said that as of now, our aim is only to actually, take this take the situation as well as this railway station completely into control, because thousands of protesters have arrived here morning. They started pelting the stones, they tossed the way, they tossed the two-wheelers, actually which were kept here for the transportation purposes, and even railway coaches have been tossed, and they were really a arson-like situation can be seen here morning. So, but they were actually only doing this, diverting the trains. More than 27 trains have been cancelled. MMTS services has been cancelled, which will be normally running throughout the city. So, even those services has been transferred, cancelled, and even more than 27 we can say have been cancelled. Right. And also, local officials speaking to us clearly said that more than 50 crores of losses occurred to this railway station, and all the big trains which will be passing from this railway station have been diverted. Few have been halted at the Nampally railway station. Few have been halted at Kachiguda railway station. So not even a single passenger is allowed, will be allowed here. So this path also I'll also ask the VJ to show these visuals here. This complete path was filled up with the protesters morning, but now it's completely clearance we can see here. However, no rails and no trains and no passengers allowed here. But we can say this, that now situation somewhat comes under control, and police are trying to also nab the protesters. Few have been identified, few have been picked up, and few ran away. So as of now, we can say that that this situation here in the Sikandrabad railway station somewhat came into control.
All right, Shamit, we are also getting live updates from Bengal, where Tamal is getting us these updates from ground zero. Let's take a look.
बहुत सारे लोगों ने रिजर्वेशन किया, और रिजर्वेशन का मतलब है उन्होंने प्लानिंग किया है अपने सफर का, और इसीलिए आज जो घटना घटी है उसके बाद से इनके पास कोई खबर नहीं है कि ट्रेन फिर से कितना बजे शुरू होगा और क्या फिर से वो अपना सफर कर पाएंगे। अभी मैं एक कम्यूटर से बात कर रहा था और उनको पूछा कि आप जहां जाने वाले हैं वहां कोई सूचना दे पाए, तो उन्होंने कहा कि आगे सिकंदराबाद में भी कुछ झमेला हो रहा है और उधर पे प्रोटेस्ट हो रहा है। तो जिनको मैंने फोन किया वो भी हमको बताए कि आप सुरक्षित रहना, ठीक रहना, उसके बाद अपना सफर शुरू करना। सबके मन में ये सवाल है, और आखिर में आपको दिखाएंगे जो हालत अंदर में हुआ था, उस आग का जो लहर है वो बाहर तक पहुंच गई थी, और जब पहुंचा तो किस हालत में स्टेशन को छोड़ा ये भी आपको देखना चाहिए। चारों तरफ गाड़ियों की मेला है, लेकिन जो गाड़ी आप कभी खरीदना नहीं चाहेंगे। चारों तरफ गाड़ियां आपको दिखेगी, लेकिन उलट पलट और आग में झुलसा हुआ। इन तमाम गाड़ियों को जलाया गया था। ऐसा था हिंसा की वो चेहरा आज सुबह दानापुर स्टेशन में, जब लोग अपने मुद्दा लेके स्टेशन तो पहुंच गए, लेकिन मुद्दा को एक्सप्रेस करने की जगह उन्होंने वायलेंस का रास्ता अडॉप्ट किया, और इस तरह से अडॉप्ट किया। आप देख सकते हैं 1 2 3 4 गाड़ियां ऐसे ही जला दिए गए, 4 या 5 गाड़ियां ऐसे ही जला दिए गए। अभी बाहर बसें चलना शुरू हो गया, लेकिन बहुत सारे लोग जो बाहर से आए दानापुर स्टेशन में, जो अपना सफर शुरू करने की मानसिकता रख रहे थे, वो अभी स्टेशन में बैठे हुए हैं और उन्हें मालूम नहीं कि अगली ट्रेन कितने बजे आएगी, और अगर ट्रेन आ भी गई तो उसमें वो अपना सफर कर पाएंगे कि नहीं। और अगर सफर शुरू भी हो गया, सबसे बड़ा सवाल, सफर खत्म कैसे होगा, किस हालत में होगा। वीडियो जर्नलिस्ट रोनी छात्रा के साथ दानापुर से तमाल शाह, टाइम्स नाउ नव भारत के लिए।
All right, so that was Tamal, who was getting us a report from what is happening in West Bengal. So what is happening is that protests have broken out in several states across the country against the Agnipath scheme. Protesters are extremely angry because they are asking one simple question: what will they do after 4 years once they are released by the armed forces? Because only 25% of 46,000 will be retained. But the violence, the ugly turn that these protests have taken across the country is a very worrying pattern that has emerged because trains are being set on fire, toll plazas are being destroyed, and public property is being damaged. So this is a very concerning development that is unfolding across the country. We are getting live reports on what is happening across the country. Let's take a look at a report.
The fire of Agnipath has now spread all across the country. Not only 6 states, but also the national capital has also witnessed the protest against the Agnipath scheme. In fact, here just a few minutes ago, that a lot of protesters from ISA as well as CYSS, which is the student union, the student wing of Aam Aadmi Party, and also the left party wing, means the ISA and Student Federation of India. The activists gathered over here, and because it's a very sensitive area, it's very sensitive chowk, that is ITO chowk, just a few steps away from the police headquarters, old police headquarters. So immediately large number of police personnel also gathered over here, and they took the position and they controlled over the situation. And in 3 buses, around 100, more than 100 youths, that also include the women activists from both the organization, they were detained and have been taken to the police station. Police say that they had not given any permission to protest or any kind of gathering at this particular chowk, but since they gathered over here and they tried to block the road, that is why they were detained. So we can say right now that not only other states but in the national capital as well, the fire of Agnipath scheme has spread over here, and we have to see, and the police is saying that they are just keeping an eye. If any other place this kind of protest happen, they will definitely take the action.
मुझे रास्ते में परेशानी हुई। मेरा ट्रेन वहाँ से तो राइट टाइम चली, 9:10 में वहाँ से खुली है ट्रेन, बट रास्ते में छपरा से पहले ये ट्रेन को रोक दिया गया। तकरीबन 6 घंटे हम लोग फंसे रहे ट्रेन में। परेशानी ये हुई खाने पे, उसमें एक तो ट्रेन के अंदर वो नहीं थी, कैंटीन नहीं थी, जिसकी वजह से ना पानी मिल पाया हमें टाइम पे, ना कुछ खाने का व्यवस्था कुछ भी नहीं था मैडम।
Now when we came to know, everybody is shattered, man. See, whole of the trip is disturbed. When you have plans and they don't go as the way you want them, then it's bad. You feel very sad for that. It's people's mistake also. They are not taking the things as they should take. If you want to protest, there are a number of ways to protest, man. If you are burning the things, public property, adversely it will come at your end only. You have to pay the burdens.
4 घंटे लेट है, जो कि नहीं होना चाहिए था, एंड गर्मी भी है। अगर पहले पता होता तो शायद हम घर से ही लेट आते।
Meanwhile, the government has been claiming that this new recruitment scheme for armed forces is for the betterment of the youth and the armed forces. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh said that recruitments were not done for the last 2 years, so the government has decided to increase the upper age limit for Agniveers, whereas Railway Minister Ashwini Vaishnav has appealed to protesters to not indulge in violence.
I request everybody not to take law in their own hands, and please do not destroy the railway property. Railway property is your property. It is national property. It is for your service. It is for everybody's service. Please do not damage the railway property.
पिछले 2 साल से सेना में भर्ती की प्रक्रिया न होने के कारण बहुत से नौजवानों को सेना में भर्ती होने का अवसर नहीं मिला। यह सच्चाई है। इसलिए युवाओं के भविष्य को ध्यान में रखते हुए और उनके प्रति संवेदनशीलता दिखाते हुए प्रधानमंत्री जी के अनुमोदन पर सरकार ने फैसला किया है कि अग्निवीरों की भर्ती की आयु सीमा को इस बार बढ़ाकर 21 से 23 वर्ष कर दिया जाए। यह वन टाइम रिलैक्सेशन दिया गया है। इससे बहुत सारे नौजवानों को अग्निवीर बनने की पात्रता स्वतः मिल जाएगी। और मैं यह भी कहना चाहता हूं कि भर्ती प्रक्रिया कुछ ही दिनों में प्रारंभ होने जा रही है। मैं सभी नौजवानों से अपील करता हूं कि सेना में भर्ती होने की वह तैयारी करें।